Welcome to International Entrepreneurs, our TV show that we are dealing with immigrant business owners and helping them with their self-care into the business climate in the United States. Our show is brought to you by the Heart and Mind Connection from Brooklyn Park, which is a nonprofit organization that is helping with mental wellness and good mental health experiences. My name is Jim Jurwitz. I have my own consulting company called the Brainstorm Company, and I like to help international entrepreneurs. So we're going to talk about that with our guest, Anna Morgan. Anna, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you so much
Appreciate
for having
it.
me.
And Pablo Murillo, I got to get that Latino accent in my tongue.
Fine. Thank you.
How do I train my tongue to do that, right?
Murillo.
Murillo.
Thank you.
All right, very good. So the both of you have been in the United States just about the same time, and this is the first time you've met each other, so there will be a good interaction experience to compare what's happening. I would like the two of you to introduce yourselves as international entrepreneurs. Your businesses are quite different, but you both evolved. So if you don't mind doing your introductions and then telling us why you came to Minnesota, why you chose to came to Minnesota. So Anna, if you will start, I appreciate that.
Well, thank you. So my name is Anna Morgan, and I work as a mental health therapist. I am from Brazil. I've been here for 26 years. And my work is to help people to find mental well-being. And the reason that I came here, it was because of marriage.
Okay.
I married someone from the United States.
And prior to being a mental health therapist, you have experienced other kinds of entrepreneurships. So
Wow.
you
Yes.
have been a
Yes.
legitimate entrepreneur.
Yes.
Started and stopped businesses.
Yes, absolutely. I have a business in Brazil where I buy properties and I rent them. When I came to the United States, I actually didn't know the language, so my English was really minimal. So I had to learn the language. I went to school. I went to school for a hairdresser. I went to Horse to that
Yeah.
school, and I work as a hairdresser. Then I was going to start a clinic, aesthetic clinic. So I did a lot of work with that. And but my dream really is, in order to actualize my potential, and is really to work with mental health. As someone from a third world country, Brazil, where we have so many issues, I see so many, and you work so hard in Brazil, and to achieve, your objectives, and there's so many barriers. And as a foreigner, when I came to this country, I was just amazed with, if you work hard, you can actually get someplace. So I've been successful in achieving my goals, and I'm grateful to be here in this country. I think what leads us, foreigners, is our perspective that we know how hard things are in our country, how much harder it is to achieve.
So you appreciate it more.
Absolutely.
Very
and
good.
I think that gives us a lot of more energy to go after our goals.
Very good. Thank you very much, Anna. Pablo, you have
Yes,
a
Jim.
story. Please
Well,
introduce yourself and your
thank you.
career.
My name is Pablo Murillo, and I thank all of you for this opportunity. And if I can somehow motivate one person to attend something that is really quite doable, it would make my day. As Anna, I was very, very happy and very glad to be a Latino Americano. I was born in Bolivia, very close to Brazil. I grew up right on the Amazons.
Yes.
And I have the greatest regard and memories for Brazil. We have businesses and several relatives in both countries. I came to the University of Minnesota as a scholarship owner, I guess, because I own that wonderful blessing. And back in at the time when we were being taken down by the recourses of Che Guevara, actually, not that I want to get political. Bolivia lost its freedom to the communists, and I had no choice. My family had lost vast businesses. We were in the mining business and real estate. So my dad, one of his partners, we sat down in Valparaiso, Chile, and this lady said, she's German, she said, all the schools you got accepted to go to school in the U.S., which one have you chosen? I said, I didn't know, I was not sure. So the name of 3M's came up. 3M.
Wow. Yes.
So indirectly, my dad had some relationship with the mining family, and 3M used to be Minnesota Mining Manufacturing.
Yeah.
So luckily, I came here to the University of Minnesota. I took 2 years of engineering, 5 years of architecture, and frankly, I thought I was so smart. Not at all. I had to learn how to balance my checkbook, how to make a phone call, and how to basically take care of the client's needs. And I think that's where it starts.
Great. So what we seek out from people like you, who have been here a while, is mentorship.
Yeah.
Because at the time that you came here, I mean, let's face it, it was pre-internet. There wasn't things going on that the technology and communication pattern allows you to work on. So I would like you to talk about the advice that you can give to people that are now just coming to the United States, or at least what we all are seeing and experiencing in terms of this border crossing. And I mean, I don't want you to get on the political side, but what I want you to do is to talk about the business side, to encourage people that you can come into the United States and you don't just need to come here just to be a picker,
Yeah.
you know, or you know, a produce provider. So talk about how you made the transition, because you got to the schools and you went through several nice schools, and you know, you've got a determination that's amazing because of the number of schools that you went to. But what kind of advice would you give to somebody that just arrived into this country now, and they say, gee, I got this talent and this skill, but I'm scared to enter into the business community in Minnesota?
Yeah.
Let's not talk about the rest of the country
Yes.
for the moment.
Well, you know, as a mental health therapist and someone that works, you know, with people's emotional well-being, I understand for sure that is, you know, it's scary. You know, everything that's new, it's scary. It's a normal reaction that we all have. And, but I say, you know, one day at a time, one step at a time. And be okay starting from, you know, from the bottom. It is okay. In my case, when I came here, I had not learned English formally. I believe you have, right?
Somewhat.
Yeah.
It was a little bit, but still I had to learn most of it.
Yeah.
You're right.
So we have, you know, in terms of language, you know, in sometimes even when you know English well, you still don't, you know, your pronunciation is not as articulate as someone from America. So I think being patient and kind with yourself, understanding that it's okay to start from the bottom. You know, maybe you want to start taking ISL, English as second language, you know, and go to United States. Here in Minneapolis, we have so many wonderful schools, 2-year degree schools. You know, start with something like that, and then build your way up. So it's okay to start from the bottom. I think sometimes some foreigners, they have like high position jobs where they come from, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
like maybe, you know, and then when they come to the United States, their knowledge or the credibility doesn't apply here because they have to redo all their education or you know. So I think it's, you know, it's a shot in your ego, but I think humility is something that's primordial in
Yeah.
our to be successful.
Very
Be
true.
humble, you know. It's okay to start from the bottom and build your way, especially as foreigners. Sometimes, you know, we have to face that sometimes they're prejudice that we face,
Right.
you know, just by being Latins or by being from other culture. And it's okay too. We might have to work a little extra hard to prove, you know, our tenacity, to prove our work ethics. But I think if you're humble and you're tenacious, you know, it's a basic foundation to achieve success, because eventually people are going to see that you have the ethics,
Yeah.
and that they embrace you.
Yeah, that's great advice. Thank you very much, Anna. Now, you've got a little diversified background because by trade you're an architect, right?
Architectural
And-
designer and developer.
And say it again, please.
I specialize on the design part of architecture, but actually I apply my background to development of real estate, commercial real estate.
Okay. So, because a service company versus, being in the trades, basically.
Right.
So, and plus in your career now, you've got a lot of pull internationally in terms of people that are seeking out your services because you have contacts in, I think you told me 17 different countries you're doing architecture work?
I've done business. I was very blessed, very lucky to be invited to several projects. I'd like to start by saying that just to be in the U.S. is a huge advantage, and there's no better place in
Yeah.
the world.
Right,
And where can you actually get up in the morning and decide what you want to do?
right.
Yeah. Yes,
mean, really.
exactly. Yeah.
Places that I've been before, you couldn't even say anything because you didn't know who you were talking to.
Yeah.
So let's keep that freedom. What I learned at the U was tremendously important, but I think that other than the technical and the logistics side, which is really basic, what I learned the most is to really get along and understand people of a different culture, different ideas, and I was just so fortunate to actually develop relationships sometimes with even the catedráticos, the teachers.
Yeah.
What I did do, since I had a scholarship only for the scholastic part, I went to work for Yellow Freight and Glendenning and Labor. So I actually
Trucking companies.
Yeah, I was the combination of kind of a college kid. They used to call me junior. But also, I really embraced the blue-collar worker, and I
Right.
think that's the beauty of this country is that we have that amazing base foundation of people that go to work day in and day out. And back in those days, a blue-collar worker would be able to support his or her family with one paycheck.
So it's interesting because the both of you are independent. You're self-employed. You have your own businesses, as
Yeah.
opposed to most people that come to this country say, "Oh, I got to go find a job, so I got to find somebody to hire me." So I would like the two of you to get into a little exchange here and use your native languages, if you will. And well, not yours because you're Portuguese,
Pero
right?
que yo hablo español también.
Sí,
Okay,
ella habla
very good.
español, muy bien.
So, in a few sentences in exchange between each other, talk to each other about what kind of advice you would give to an immigrant, a Latino immigrant, who you're going to advise them to start their own business first rather than go work for somebody else.
Yeah.
So, how about talking to each other about that?
Yo quisiera que la señora, que para mí yo le tengo mucho respeto,
Yeah.
tuve la oportunidad de
Sí.
intercambiar ideas antes. Exactamente lo que funciona, la sustancia, es muy común entre
Es
los
la
dos.
humildad, sí, la humildad es lo trabajo. Nosotros, es la ética de trabajo, porque
La
para cuando tú empezaste tu trabajo, tú empezaste haciendo trabajo de una persona más simple, ¿sí? Entonces, cuando nosotros empezamos la vida, tenemos que tener humildad. Por más que tú, por ejemplo, que vienes de una familia muy establecida, muy rica de Bolivia, tú ves aquí,
comenzar de abajo.
comenzó de abajo, entonces lo hizo que es importante tener la seguridad dentro de ti mismo, que tú tienes valor. No interesa si empieza de abajo o si empieza más arriba.
What she said is beautiful, and we connected. I would just like to share this with people that don't have the pleasure to have the language of Cervantes Saavedra, which is my second last name, by the way. My mom was a direct descendant of Cervantes Saavedra. Very proud. What she's touching is very important because when you come to a different world, what you know here in the mind is only secondary to what you have here in the heart.
Sí.
So what I had to do was reach into myself and really learn how to understand people since the language was very limited, I had to learn what people call now body language. That's the only way I know how to communicate. See what they were trying to tell me by their eyes, their hands, their smile.
Absolutely.
And that still works a little, doesn't
Oh,
it?
absolutely. 70% communication, it's nonverbal.
Nonverbal. And being humble enough to know what your limited resources are is really vital. I totally
Yeah.
agree. I, in my business today, if I can advise someone, I'd like to teach how to really separate the spirit from the mind and see how they interexchange. If you train your mind to be in calm collection and you go through your organized day or week or month and focus on what your needs or the needs for your client, for your audience are, you'll be successful because it's about the person you're serving, not about you.
Yeah.
So
And there's
this is the
something-
self-care that we talk about.
Yes.
And putting that into balance is going to minimize the stress and continue to sustain your health.
Absolutely. How many times have we met people that are smarter than us? Everyone is smarter than I am.
There'll always be someone smarter than
Oh,
you.
sure.
There'll always be someone
Yeah.
more attractive, richer, or something.
That's
If
our
you-
advantage, isn't it?
Exactly. So it's like the stronger you feel in yourself, the more regulated in my terms.
right.
I talk about physiology being regulated, but some people talk about mindfulness, being mindful, being present, being with the spirit. So the richer is your interior, the stronger you're gonna have. You're gonna be able to deal with your environment in healthier ways.
And how this really works, correct me if I'm wrong, is that we come in Latin America, we're so rich. Latinos, we're rich because we're a result of multiple generations of knowledge, traditions. I mean, have you seen how many cultures there are in Mexico? Chibchas, Muiscas, Toltecas, Chichimecas, Mayas, Aztecas, and you go on and on. They're like 50.
And then there's other cultures
And
in
there's
Spain.
the Spaniards,
and
Hernan Cortez, which
Yeah.
I'm Spanish, proud. But the mix of all that in our DNA and the beauty of actually understanding that a human being is a treasure, no matter where they are educationally
Absolutely,
or financially,
yeah.
correct? We
Yes,
need
absolutely.
to respect that.
Yeah, the value of being human, the value of being alive. We talk about the value of being human. The value of every living thing has a value, and I think that sometimes people lose the sight that they are truly valuable, regardless of what they do is for work or their finances or their appearance. We are truly valued just because we are here and we're alive. And I think that also helps to solidify the strength that we need to be okay in being here. If I have to do, when I come to a different country and I have to do a job that's simpler, that I'm not gonna be like if I was for example, if I was a physician in Bolivia and I come to the United States, I might not be able to work as a physician, but I can, do something else. And with humility and self-awareness and being
Adaptability.
malleability, do you know what I mean? You can be successful, you can build your way up. I think, we both have, I come from in Brazil, I was a person of very little means. It is different than you. You're a person that had a lot of,
resources.
Resources.
Until the communists came in.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way.
And then you're
So
all
we're
on a
at
level
the same.
playing
We're
field.
all
but we're
human.
both, yes,
Human.
but we both adapt, and we both became successful because of the humility factor and knowing who we are.
Amen.
It's great. I mean, the chemistry between you two is wonderful.
But I happen to
see.
admire and love Brazil. That's the weakness. It's the most beautiful
Well,
country in the world.
and
After
most
Bolivia.
people don't, most Americans
Oh.
certainly don't know that Brazil is a different language than Spanish.
Yes.
So, I mean, is it the only country in South America that
That
speaks Portuguese?
Yeah, well, I think the Guianas they might speak Portuguese as well too,
Yeah, a
like
little
French
French,
and English.
yeah.
French
Yeah,
and
it's kind of
English.
like Montreal speaks French.
A little
Yeah.
bit. But here's the common language, so that we're dealing here with human beings, people that have the same needs and desires. And a little clue I'm going to give some of my audience. They ask, well, how did you do business in 17 countries? Well, actually, I have. I had offices in Saudi Arabia, in London, Mexico. I've done business in Japan, Costa Rica, etc. Why? Because one of the best things you can do with your client is to say, I'm not sure. I don't really know.
Yes, humility.
Because
right
we
there.
don't. So
Yeah,
it's not
yeah.
about what I know, but
Right.
then I come back and say, what I'm interested sir, ma'am, is to find out
Yeah,
what
which
do
what
you
hap-
need, what can I do
Yeah,
for you?
which happens in this
because I'm a
country, we
small-
say, well,
right.
well, what do you want to hear? And I'm going to tell it to you.
Everybody's so smart, you know.
Yeah.
So if we truly, really mean honestly that we want to serve someone, they will be able to tell.
Yeah.
Because that's the heart, speaking to the heart.
You know,
Correct?
and that comes, yes, and comes, you know, science is great about that because communication, we have research that says, some researcher says communication, 70% nonverbal, 30% verbal. So some researchers even say 93% is nonverbal and the rest is verbal. So in reality is, we're communicating with the environment without even opening our mouths. Our body language is saying a lot. You know, how we look, how, you know, how we perceive, you know, facial expression, the prosody, you know, the melody of our voice. So when you come, humility gives us a position of advantage because when you're humble, you're doing something that's very important. You're listening.
Absolutely.
So
that's-
in your ability to be culturally diverse in a business world is because you have the ability to listen because you have humility.
She is a great communicator. I mean, coming from Brazil, speaking several languages. And you know, Brazil is not just Portuguese, correct? You have French, Austrians, Germans,
Japanese.
Japanese.
I'm Japanese as well.
Yeah,
I'm half Japanese, yeah.
It's the
That's
world.
great.
You know,
That's
it's
great.
beautiful.
All right, so let's get back to the self-care or the advice to the international entrepreneur that's just arriving.
Yep, nice.
Fortunately for immigrants or for people of color and women, this country chooses to identify minority business owners. And anybody other than white people are minorities, and even white women are considered minority business owners.
Yes.
So there's advantages, you know, economic advantages, service advantages that are available only to minority businesses. So even though you may come from a Latino country and there's, you know, multiple millions of Latinos in this country, you're still considered a minority, and therefore you're eligible, at least in the state of Minnesota, you're eligible for career developing services and opportunities and financing and training.
True, true.
So I don't know if you run into that now today, but if you
Well, let me give a
if you
little
can reference
parentheses
that
there.
a bit, yeah.
I am a very respectful person of what this country has done, but you know, you're talking about 300 million people plus, the most successful theory called capitalism that ever worked, and it's awesome. And somehow we have to compartmentalize and classify things because life is about organization. So when you call minority, I would say personally, I don't look at the minority opportunities. I would go to the mainstream because then you have the freedom to really choose your clientele. You don't necessarily have to be
Yeah,
limited.
yeah,
I loved organizations.
Yeah, but not if
before.
you're paying taxes.
Well,
If you're paying taxes, you want that minority category.
someday I'd like to pay $1 million in
Yeah,
taxes,
right.
wouldn't you? That means
Of
I've
course.
done very well.
That means you're helping
Yeah,
society.
I mean, why
yeah.
not pay taxes? You got to pay Caesar what's worth to Caesar, and
Yeah.
Christ what's praised to
There you go.
what's praised to God. Now, getting back to this point, which I believe, I really believe in my heart, is that when you look at the opportunities, try to see where there's a void, there's a need, regardless of color, race, ideology. Today, there's such a huge gap. People are seeking self-awareness, self-esteem, direction, belief. There's a real need for that. And if we start with that, and that could be up in the CEO level, or it could be at the worst employee, the smallest employee.
Yeah.
Could you elaborate on that a little bit as far as the opportunities being open, not just for the minority classifications?
So I think that you're right to do identifying, you know, a need, and I think, you know, success also comes from your passion, right? You know, like, you know, for hearing you saying you have a passion to serve, you know, you want to do something. So my too, you know, I am a helping professional, so I think we can be successful when we choose something that we're passionate about, regardless, you know, like in my practice, I work with adults and teens, right? I don't work with children. the main point is I want to help that population. So I'm doing something that I'm passionate about. So if I am, it's a niche. I have a niche. I think when you are, in regards to what you mentioned about finding a need, I think you have to identify first of all something that you're passionate about. Because whatever you're passionate about, you're going to put a lot of all the hours you need in order to achieve excellence. So find something that you're passionate about, educate yourself as much as you can in the area. And now education knowledge is so easy to acquire because of our technology. Then we have knowledge everywhere. It's accessible. And then have your tenacious spirit and figure out who do you want to serve.
So let me transition you a little bit because the experience in the Latino business community or as a Latino business people is great information, great exchange here. We now have a growing international community with both the Hmongs, which have been here for a long time, very big population, and now the people that are coming here from Africa.
Yeah.
What kind of advice would you give to those other international entrepreneurs in terms of trying to bestow some courage on them to feel comfortable in what this state has to offer?
Well,
as far as business
yes.
business development goes.
I think that, and you mentioned, help for people there of different cultures that this state, I think it does offer. I have not personally made use of any of those resources. And I haven't had the need, but I think, it is great if people, if you need, you can access that. I think that it's an interesting, the term like acculturation, right? I think we want to honor the culture that you come from, but I think we also want to be open-minded for what this culture has to offer and how to integrate ourselves in a way that's productive. You know what I mean? Like I am a person of different cultures. I have French, Japanese, Latin. And I think that we can be, as business owners, successful if we also learn how to integrate effectively into the culture, into this country's cultures, and identify the need, whatever need for the business is, and
Right. This is a delicate subject. I happen to have great admiration for both African people and Hmong because I've seen what they've done in such a short period of time.
Yes.
I think us as Latinos, we still have to do a lot of homework working together,
Yes.
helping each other. What I've done actually, and I'd be happy to share this in future sessions or opportunities, I've developed a very simple model. In designing architecture, what we learn about needs, circumstances, environmental and logistic limitations, population, budgets, environmental of all kinds, but ultimately we develop a little model. So if you can do that and what you want to do, if you learn how to be interviewed and interview a person, you're way ahead. Meaning that to learn how to read them, be prepared for the interview, understand the very systematic logistics involved, determining the priority of the other person's needs, that usually are 2 or 3, and zooming on the things that they're not telling you.
Yeah.
That you can learn as an entrepreneur. You don't have to be a scientist for that.
Yeah.
And if you learn how to manage that properly, you can really progress.
Okay, in closing, I want to thank the state of Minnesota for being so progressive and
Yes.
productive
Yes.
with all of the
Wonderful
big
place.
corporations. Thank God for those big
Yeah.
corporations because our healthcare system is good, our education system is good.
Absolutely.
And
The best state in the union.
yeah.
Yeah.
So with that, thank you very much for doing our charter show for international entrepreneurs. Your talent and skills
you
are
so much.
very
I
great.
appreciate that.
Thank you
For the
so much.
opportunity, Jen.
Yeah, thank you so
Appreciate it.
much.
Bye.